If you were to literally start from zero today with the intention of growing a podcast, what would you do differently?
If I'm starting today, I would not waste my time on audio only. I would immediately go to video because I think we have so many social media platforms and we should use them. So that's why the clips really help with growth. So I would immediately go into let's film it. And even if I'm not filming in a studio, even if I'm filming at home, but I would film it. And I would prioritize in-person conversation because I think that people are bored of this like grainy video podcast, whatever. We don't need to be doing that anymore. I would say let's do in person, let's chat, let's film it, and let's put it out there. And in terms of the approach, I would do the same as I've done. The way I've picked my guests, the way I've scripted my episodes, I would still be doing the same, but I would just prioritize in-person conversation.
I think that's so key, genuinely, because when I shifted it as well, I just saw like immediate growth. And when I have same as what you said in terms of when something goes maybe not viral, but even higher views than all the others it lifts the sort of the level with all the other episodes. Here's the thing. So when someone starts a podcast now, how long should they go for before they're like questioning whether to carry on or pivot into something else? Because again, focusing on that like hype analysis of analytics, it could be a negative as well as a positive. So you did one season, but you did one before that. So what's the sort of like how many should they really realistically be doing?
This is a hard question to answer. I think so what I've seen, right, because a lot of podcasters come to me saying it's not working. What do I do? And the problem is always different for different people. And now that I've done it for a while, I can get a sense of what it might be. And I would say majority of the time, it's a host problem. So I think I've been on a few podcasts as well, and I really struggle when people just sit there with an iPad in front of them and they just go, okay, question one is this. They listen to me, but there's no kind of like back and forth on that topic like we're having. Then it just goes on to, okay, next question is this, next question is this. So a podcast is not an interview, it's a conversation. And you need to dig deep into a topic. You don't want to just go through a list of questions to cover everything about this person, because we are all multifaceted these days. We all have very different things we're interested in. So you need to know which area of that person you want to dig deeper a little bit into. And even last night I had a meeting with this guy and we were just talking, and then I said, okay, but going back to the initial point, and he was like, oh my God, you're such a host. And I was like, yeah, because I don't like it when people go on tangents that are not relevant to this conversation, right? We need to come back to the conversation, but there is a style to it. There is kind of like an art of bringing your guests back. You can't just be like, okay, no, I don't care about that. Let's just talk about this. And also the emotional intelligence of the host. Sometimes you need to connect with your guests. You need to be able to make them feel comfortable enough to forget the camera. Because especially if you have guests that are not used to being on a production set, then they start to feel very self-aware. And then suddenly the walls go up, right? So it's all about these subtle things that a host needs to learn. And a lot of times when I see a podcast is not picking up, is because the host is not understanding that this is, first of all, it's not just a conversation that you're having with someone. Secondly, it's not an interview. And thirdly, you need to know what you're trying to extract out of that person for your audience. That's one thing. The other thing is, are you doing something that's way too niche, that there isn't an audience big enough for it? Maybe you've tapped into the whole of that audience, but there's only 33 people in it, right? So you need to know how niche are you. And another thing I would say is, people need to be clear as to why they're doing a podcast. Just like any content, are you doing it because you enjoy it and you just want to keep doing it? Or are you doing it because you want to monetize it? And the monetization is not something you can control at the start as a creator, right? You need to grow first and then you control the monetization. So I think a lot of times people are also impatient, thinking, I just want to get to that stage. But there is a lot of grind that happens. And unfortunately, there are also times where you might be doing everything right, but luck is not on your side, right? And that happens as well. Even for us, sometimes the episode I'm the most happy about, I'm super excited to post it, and it tanks so badly. And that's just because what you are interested in, sometimes the audience is not interested in, or you posted it at a time where people are not interested in watching this. So there are a lot of factors that come into play, but in terms of bringing everything on your side to make sure that you stand the highest chances, there are still a lot of things to be done. And I think if you've done 10 episodes, you don't know enough yet. You need to keep working on it. And that's why I say that if you don't enjoy it and if you don't see the longevity in it, it's really hard to keep going, because if you're just expecting the virality, you're just expecting the monetization, then your priorities are very different to just enjoying the process. And that's why all of these needs to come into play. So I think main advice is only do it if you enjoy it, because it's not something you can predict. Secondly is make sure you are learning and improving everything that you can improve from your side. And then thirdly, you might need to do a kind of like a big picture kind of assessment and maybe speak to someone else about it. Ask them, what do they think is going wrong with the podcast? Is this something they would listen to? And also being clear as to who you are talking to in your audience. Because I think a lot of the times people are not thinking about this. Like, you can't just have a podcast for anyone to listen to, because I'm sure you've heard niche down to blow up, right? You need to really niche down and talk to one specific person, and they're an avatar and you're speaking to that audience. But you need to know what are their pain points, what time do they listen to the podcast, what would they be interested in, who are the people they're looking up to, and what value can I add to their lives. And if you don't know who you're talking to, then you can't create that world for them. So yeah, just be very methodical about it.